One of the great things about my job is traveling the world and meeting really interesting people. And so it is today. I'm in Seattle, where I'm sitting down with best-selling author, entrepreneur, instructor, Gifford Pinchot III, where he sat down with me to share with top-of-mind viewers his thoughts on entrepreneurship, building sustainable economies, and all things that help build a future worth living. I'm Thom Ruhe, and this is Top of Mind. So I'm here with Gifford Pinchot III. Gifford, thank you so much for making some time for us today.
It's a pleasure.
Actually, it's my pleasure. It's actually a real thrill. You know, for someone who's been an entrepreneur and now works at the foundation of entrepreneurship, to meet the legend that actually coined intrapreneurship, it's a treat. And I thought I might, for people that are watching this, just start there and ask you what it was like that led up to the publishing in 1985 of Intrapreneuring, and really what was the motivation, going with that book at that time.
So back in the late 70s, I had a business failure, and I ended up owing the bank $80,000. The interest rate was 23%, and I was unemployed. And I thought, this is not the time to start another business. I actually need a job. And so I thought about having a job, which I pretty much had never done other than, summer jobs and things like that. I'd always worked for myself. And I thought, I would like to have a job that would allow someone to be sort of like me. So that would be like an entrepreneur, but sort of inside a company. Wonder how that would be and how that would work. And my mentor at the time, Bob Schwartz of the Tarrytown School for Entrepreneurs, had mentioned that there was going to be a room for entrepreneurs inside big companies. And I asked him, what do you mean? And he said, I don't know. So my wife and I went off and we wrote a paper on intrapreneuring. Spent some time trying to figure out how to name it, because we thought, if we coin this idea and send it out into the world without a name, no one will remember we had anything to do with it. So we named it. And that paper got picked up by the London Economist. They wrote a 5-page article about it. And then the Christian Science Monitor, and then the next thing you know, Speaking, and then Harper & Row came and said, would you like to write a book on this subject? And
oh, really? So it was more like a scholarly white paper? It didn't start as a book?
No, started as a white paper.
And that was just for the purposes of the program you were in with your mentor, or you just, did you ever seek it to be, did you intend for it to get published, the paper itself?
No, I sort of wrote it for him to say, oh, you put out this little challenge, here's my answer to this challenge. But I was really thinking of how I was going to be able to, since I was going to have to get a job,
right.
I was thinking about what was the ideal job that I was looking for.
And necessity has a way of providing focus, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So what was the reaction when it came onto the market? Is it Harper you said that?
Harper & Row, yeah. In that days it was Harper & Row.
Okay, so the book gets published, and then what happened?
So I went from having to work a second job to pay my rent to 20 phone calls a day from Fortune 100 companies asking for help in implementing intrapreneuring. So it was a very sudden change of state. And in fact, I think that was an important part of my life, because it changed so rapidly that I realized that the difference between moderate poverty and upper middle class existence is really not all that different. That what still really mattered was, what's my relationship with my wife? How are my kids doing in school? Those are the things that really determine whether you're happy or not. And so, if it had happened over 5 years, I would never have noticed. But because it happened over a week or two.
The drastic change.
The drastic change made me realize, no, this is not what's really important in life. What's really important in life is the way in which the things that matter, the relationships, the meaning in your life, all those sorts of things, those are what matter the most.
So you started getting 20 calls a day.
Yeah.
Those 20 calls, were they all domestic? Were they all coming from in the United States, or did you see an interest in this that went beyond the U.S.?
In 1 year I would speak in every continent, except Antarctica. I never spoke in Antarctica.
Corporate presence up there other than the U.S. government, I suppose.
But as a guide to where things were at that day, that time, DuPont called up and said, we'd like to come down and talk to us. We think this intrapreneuring is interesting. And I said to them, well, we don't do sales calls. You'll have to come to Connecticut. And
You told DuPont, you got to come see me.
yeah.
Wow. There's a word for that. Let's just use chutzpah, for lack of a better one. And did they come?
They came, and we ended up doing millions of dollars of business with them, and it was a very good relationship. But it was just because I didn't know what to do. It wasn't so much chutzpah as I was getting all these calls. I couldn't go visit them all.
It was a practical matter more than anything else.
But I think looking back on it, maybe I should have recognized that DuPont could have been a really important client.